I never believed in ghosts until the day I shot my husband point blank in the chest. Right there in the kitchen of our Greenwich estate. The one we'd bought with blood money that wasn't mine to bleed for. The cops called it self-defense. But they didn't know the half of it. The years I'd spent rotting in a cell for his sins. The son we'd buried too young because of his greed. And now, standing in this crumbling mansion in the Berkshires that some long-lost uncle left me, I was about to unearth the one secret that would make that bullet feel like mercy. It started with the portrait. I'd driven up from the city that crisp October morning, the leaves turning blood red like a warning I ignored. The will had come out of nowhere, Uncle Harlan, the family black sheep who'd vanished decades ago, leaving behind this pile of stones called Eldridge Hall. I wasn't sentimental. Family had screwed me over enough times. But the inheritance was clean. No strings. And after 5 years inside for fraud I didn't commit, clean money sounded like a prayer answered by the devil himself. The realtor, a slick Boston type named Chet with a Rolex that screamed old money, handed me the keys with a grin. "It's a steal, Mrs. Hargrove. Needs work, but the bones are solid. And that library? Straight out of a Hitchcock flick." I nodded, signing the papers without a tour. What did I care? At 42, Elizabeth Hargrove was a ghost herself, divorced on paper before the trial, widowed in spirit long before the gun. Tom had walked free while I did time, our mutual agreement to shield the family name from scandal. Or so the lawyer spun it. I fired Chet and his crew, wanting the place to myself. The first night, I wandered the halls with a bottle of bourbon from the dusty cellar, the kind Harlan must have hoarded during Prohibition echoes. The mansion reeked of mildew and regret, floorboards creaking like confessions. Up on the second floor, I pushed open the library doors, mahogany panels, floor-to-ceiling shelves sagging under leather-bound tomes no one had cracked since the Jazz Age. And there, above the mantel, was the portrait. Oil on canvas, maybe 3 feet tall, framed in tarnished gold.
A boy.
No more than 8, with my eyes, hazel flecked with gold, and Tom's crooked smile. He wore a striped sweater, knees dirty from play, holding a baseball glove like it was his lifeline. The plaque beneath read, Elias Hargrove, 2010. My heart slammed against my ribs.
Elias.
Our son. Dead these 12 years from leukemia, or so Tom had sworn when he handed me the urn at the hospital, his face a mask of grief that now seemed rehearsed. I stumbled back, bourbon spilling across the rug. "No," I whispered to the empty room. "You're seeing things,
Liz."
It's just a coincidence." But those eyes, they pierced right through the paint, right into the hollow where my boy used to be. I hadn't cried since the trial, not even when the judge banged the gavel.
But now?
Tears burned like acid. I sank into the wingback chair, staring until the fire I'd lit in the grate died to embers. Sleep didn't come. By dawn, I was on the phone with the estate lawyer in Albany, a nasal-voiced woman named Rita who sounded like she'd inhaled too much upstate dust. "Harlan Eldridge? Distant cousin on your mother's side."
"Ma'am."
No direct line to the boy. "The portrait's just decor. Family lore says it's a Hargrove ancestor from the 1800s. Repainted, or something." Elias was a common name back then. Bullshit. I knew Tom's family tree better than my own. We'd traced it for tax breaks during our Wall Street salad days. No Elias in the branches. I hung up and tore the place apart. Drawers in the desk yielded faded letters. Yellowed photos of stern men in bowlers. But nothing on the boy. The attic was a rat's nest of trunks, Harlan's war medals from Nam, tax ledgers from the 80s, a shoebox of Polaroids showing parties with women who looked like they charged by the hour. No ghosts. Just the detritus of a lonely man's life.
But the portrait haunted me.
I covered it with a sheet, then ripped it off an hour later. By noon, I was driving back to the city, the Berkshire Hills mocking me with their postcard perfection. Home was a cramped walk-up in Chelsea now, the kind of place where the super blast Tejano music at 6 a.m. and the fridge hums like a threat. I pored over old albums, comparing Elias's baby pictures to the canvas I'd snapped on my phone. The resemblance was uncanny, down to the cowlick at his temple. Tom answered on the third ring, his voice smooth as aged scotch. Liz, to what do I owe the pleasure? Finally ready to admit you overreacted with that little incident. The incident. That's what he called me, putting a bullet in him after he showed up drunk at my release party, slurring apologies that reeked of pity. Self-defense. Like I said, the DA bought it because Tom's connections ran deep. And a deadbeat ex-husband with a rap sheet for domestic disturbances was easier to bury than a wrongful conviction scandal. But he wasn't dead. Not really. The shot had grazed him. He played possum long enough for the ambulance to haul him to a private clinic in the Hamptons. Now he lived in Miami, peddling real estate to crypto bros. Untouchable. I found something, I said, my voice steady as rebar. A portrait of Elias. Silence, then a chuckle like breaking glass. You're unhinged,
Liz.
Grief does that. The boy's gone. We buried him. We buried an urn.
Tom.
Empty. As it turns out. I waited, letting the hook sink. Harlan Eldridge. Ring any bells? Or should I say, any checks? Another pause. Longer this time. Harlan? Never heard. Cut the crap. The mansion's wired with security footage from the 90s. I found tapes in the basement. You visited him twice. 2009 and 2010. Right around Elias's illness.
Spill it.
Or I go to the feds with what I know about the offshore accounts. He sighed. The sound of a man folding a bad hand. Meet me. Neutral ground. The old diner off I-87. Tomorrow noon. And Liz, don't do anything stupid. Stupid. Like loving a man who let you take the fall for his Ponzi scheme? Tom had cooked the books at Hargrove Investments, siphoning millions from pension funds while I played the dutiful wife, signing whatever he shoved under my nose. When the SEC came knocking, he pinned it on me, the aggressive portfolio manager with the MBA from Wharton. I got 7 years. He got a slap on the wrist and custody of our memories, including, apparently, our son. The diner was a relic, chrome stools, pie under glass, truckers nursing coffee that could strip paint. Tom slid into the booth across from me, tanned and tailored, looking like he'd stepped off a yacht. You look good,
Liz.
Prison agreed with you. Save the charm. The portrait. Who painted it? He lit a cigarette. Illegal indoors, but who cared in upstate nowhere? Harlan was a forger. Best in the business. Back when art fraud paid better than stocks. I needed a favor, insurance. After the diagnosis. Elias was sick. Real bad. Experimental treatments cost a fortune. Off books. Harlan owed me from a deal in the 80s. He painted the kid from photos, hung it in the hall as a tribute. Elias never set foot in that place. Liar. I slid a printout across the table. Bank records I'd hacked from a library computer. Tom's name tied to wire transfers to Eldridge Hall. You paid him $500K. For what? A ghost. Tom's eyes narrowed. The Playboy mask cracking. All right.
Fine.
The treatments failed.
Elias.
He didn't make it. But the optics, Hargrove heir dying broke, investors would have bolted. So I faked the funeral. The urn. Sent the body to a crematorium upstate. No questions. Harlan helped stage it. The portrait was his gift. A way to remember without the mess. My fists clenched under the table. You faked our son's death? For money. Not just money. Legacy. You were inside by then.
Liz.
I had to protect what was left. He leaned in, voice dropping. And yeah, I moved the kid. Alive. To a family in Canada. Clean break. The world tilted. Alive. Elias. 13 now. Breathing air I hadn't smelled in years. Where? Swear you won't go nuclear. He scribbled an address on a napkin, some suburb outside Toronto. But Liz, he's happy. New name. New life. Digging him up would destroy that. I snatched the napkin, standing so fast the booth rattled. You destroyed us first.
Tom.
Enjoy your sunsets. I'm done playing your games. Driving back to the mansion, the napkin burned a hole in my pocket. Revenge simmered, hot and black as the bourbon waiting at home. Tom thought he could bury secrets like bodies. But I was the one who'd clawed out of a grave. And Elias? If he was alive.
So was I.
That night, I uncovered more. In Harlan's desk, a hidden compartment, letters from Tom, frantic scrawls about the boy and the switch, and photos, not painted, but real. Elias, pale and hooked to IVs. Then later, healthier, in a strange bed with strangers hovering. The betrayal cut deeper than bars ever could. Tom hadn't just framed me, he'd erased our son to save his empire. And Harlan, complicit, the old bastard, dying with the truth locked in paint. I booked a flight to Toronto for dawn. But as I packed, the phone rang, unknown number. Mrs. Hargrove, this is Detective Ruiz. NYPD cold cases. We exhumed a body from your son's plot. It's not Elias. It's a John Doe.
Circa 2010.
Your husband's prints all over the paperwork. Mind coming in for a chat? The hook twisted.
Tom.
The weasel. Flipping the script even from afar. He confessed? Or set me up again? I hung up, staring at the portrait. The boy's eyes seemed to plead. Choose wisely.
Mom.
The flight to Toronto was a red-eye blur. The kind where economy class feels like a penance and the in-flight movie mocks your unraveling life. I clutched the napkin like a talisman. The address smudged but legible. 142, Maplewood Lane. Oakville. A cul-de-sac life. The polar opposite of our manicured chaos in Greenwich. Who were these people who'd stolen my boy? Strangers with minivans and PDA meetings, oblivious to the monster who'd pawned off his own flesh for a fortune. Customs waved me through with barely a glance, disheveled American in yoga pants and a hoodie. No red flags. I rented a nondescript Honda. The GPS lady's voice a calm anchor in the storm. Oakville sprawled like a Canadian fever dream, tidy lawns, Starbucks on every corner, the lake glittering like fool's gold. I parked 2 blocks from the address, heart pounding as I walked the final stretch. Kids on bikes. A dog barking at nothing. Normalcy. The ultimate betrayal. The house was colonial revival. White siding. A basketball hoop resting in the drive. I lingered at the mailbox. Elliot family. No Hargrove in sight. Through the bay window, I glimpsed a kitchen, woman chopping veggies, man scrolling his phone. And then, him. Elias, no.
Elliot now, taller.
Lanky. With Tom's jaw but my freckles dusting his nose. He laughed at something on his laptop. The sound muffled but piercing. 12 years. I'd missed braces. Growth spurts. The first heartbreak. I should have knocked. Claimed a clerical error. Some long-lost aunt routine. But the tears came unbidden. Hot and furious. This was my son. Alive. While I'd grieved a lie. Tom's words echoed. He's happy. Bullshit. Happiness built on theft was a house of cards. I snapped photos from the shadows. Evidence for the custody war-eyed wage. The headlines that would gut Tom's Miami paradise. Back in the car. Engine idling. I dialed Rita the lawyer. Hypothetically, I said, if a parent faked a death and relocated a minor across borders without consent, kidnapping? Fraud. Her pause was lawyerly. Probing. Depends on jurisdiction.
Ma'am.
But yeah, felonies stack like pancakes. You'd need proof. Ironclad. And the boys' welfare first. Courts hate ripping kids from stable homes.
Stable.
The word tasted like ash. That night, holed up in a Holiday Inn with lake views I ignored. I scoured the web. Elliot Hargrove, adopted 2010. Sealed records. But whispers in old society pages. Hargrove airs quiet battle with illness ends in hope.
Hope.
Tom's PR spin. Deeper digs revealed forum posts from expat moms. New kid in school. Shy, but sweet. Families loaded, old money. Loaded with my blood. Sleep evaded me again. By morning, Detective Ruiz's voicemail looped in my head. I called back. Voice clipped. On my way south. What's the angle on the body? Patience. Mrs. Hargrove. Forensics says the John Doe was indigent. Overdose victim. Your ex-husband signed the cremation waiver. Forged your consent. Looks like. We're pulling warrants. Warrants. The word thrilled and terrified.
Tom.
Cornered at last. But as I crossed the border, phone buzzing with traffic alerts. A text from an unknown. Oakville was a mistake. Turn back.
Ash.
Harlan? Impossible. The old man had been dead 6 months. No. A proxy. Tom's reach. Long as ever. I deleted it, flooring the pedal through Niagara's tourist traps. Back in Eldridge Hall by dusk, the mansion felt less like inheritance and more like a trap. The portrait mocked me from the library wall. Elias's smile now a challenge. What are you waiting for?
Mom?
I tore into Harlan's files with fresh fury. The letters weren't just from Tom, replies in Harlan's spidery hand. The switch is risky. But for $200K, I'll make it seamless. Boy goes to the Elliots, solid Catholics. No questions. Portrait seals the memory. Seamless. Like laundering souls. A ledger tucked in the false bottom detailed payments, Tom's initial wire. Then hush money over years. Harlan had been the architect, Tom the financier, me the scapegoat. Rage boiled over. I smashed a vase, shards scattering like my fractured life. In the chaos, a photo fluttered free. Elias with Harlan. 2010. The boy grinning beside a grizzled vet in a VFW hat. My uncle, great-uncle, had held my son while I signed confessions in a holding cell. Family. The ultimate con. The next call was to Ruiz. I have proof.
Tapes.
Letters. Tom's not just a forger's patsy. He orchestrated it all. Come in tomorrow. And Mrs. Hargrove, watch your back. Your ex's friends in high places. We found a tail on your tailpipe last week.
Friends.
Like the judge who'd gone easy on Tom. Or the SEC insider who'd buried the real evidence. I bolted the doors. Gun from the bedside. Tom's old Beretta. Irony's gift, chambered and ready. Sleep came in fits. Dreams of Elias drowning in Lake Ontario. Tom's laughter bubbling up from the depths. Dawn brought a visitor. Not cops, but Chet the realtor, pounding on the door with a briefcase. Mrs. Hargrove, emergency. Harlan's will has a codicil. You contest. The whole estate reverts to charity.
Contesting.
As if. I let him in. Sophia Blosk as my muet. He spread papers on the library table, the portrait looming like a judge. Signed here, affirming no disputes. It's boilerplate. I scanned the fine print, pulse racing. Buried in legalese, beneficiary acknowledges all familial representations as artistic license. No claims to veracity. Veracity.
Truth.
They were gagging me. Harlan's ghost ensuring silence. Whose charity? I asked. Pen hovering. St.
Jude's.
Children's cancer. Chet's eyes flicked to the portrait. Then away. The irony hit like a freight train. Cancer, the lie that started it all. I signed, but not before palming a flash drive from his briefcase. Forgot my reading glasses, I lied, ejecting it mid-handshake. Check gone. I plugged in the drive. Jackpot. Emails between him and Tom. Dated yesterday. She's in Oakville, abort. Send the cleaners. Cleaners. Hitmen or lawyers. Either way, the net tightened. I forwarded it all to Ruiz, then packed a go bag. Toronto again. This time for the boy. But as I revved the engine, sirens wailed, state troopers, lights flashing. Elizabeth Hargrove, step out. You're under arrest for extortion and conspiracy. Extortion? Tom's flip. Swift as a snake. He'd fed Ruiz a doctored tape. Me threatening him over the portrait. Conspiracy. Harlan's death. Pinned on me now. The cuffs bit cold. The mansion shrinking in the rear view as they hauled me to Albany. Interrogation was a circus. Bad coffee. Worse lies. Ruiz, stone-faced, played the tape, my voice, synthesized, demanding millions for silence. Your prints on the gun.
Liz.
And that body? Motive screams revenge. Revenge. The word hung. Delicious and damning. I lawyered up. Rita swooping in like a hawk. Plea it down. But the kid, Canada's involved now. Interpol's sniffing. Hours blurred tonight. Bail denied, flight risk.
They said.
In the cell, concrete echoing my breaths. I traced the bars with numb fingers. Tom had outmaneuvered me again, turning hunter to hunted. But the twist gnawed. Why frame me twice, unless the boy wasn't the prize? Unless Elias knew something, saw something, that could bury Tom for good. A guard slipped me a note at lights out. Elias safe. Meet at the hall. Burn this.
E.
For Elliot, my son. Reaching out, hope flickered, fragile as a match. I'd burn the world for that flame. The arraignment was a media circus. Flashbulbs popping like gunfire outside the Albany courthouse. Wrongful death widow turns vengeful, screamed the Post. My mugshot splashed across feeds, haggard, defiant. The portrait leaked as clickbait. Tom's machine, at work, painting me the unhinged harpy while he played the grieving dad from afar. Rita worked miracles. Bail set at $500K. I didn't have. But a bondsman fronted it. Eyes hungry for the story. Back at Eldridge Hall, the place felt besieged, press vans idling at the gate. Locals whispering about the crazy city lady. I dodged them, holing up with the Beretta and a satellite phone Rita smuggled in. The note burned in my pocket. Elias safe. Meet at the hall. The VFW? Risky. But blood called louder than caution. Dusk fell early. November's chill seeping through the walls. I drove the back roads, wipers slapping rain like accusations. The VFW was a squat brick bunker off Route 9. Neon open sign flickering over a lot dotted with F-150s.
Inside.
It smelled of stale beer and regret. Pool balls cracking. Vets in faded caps nursing drafts. No faces I knew, but eyes tracked me. The outsider in LL. Bean boots. The back hall led to a storage room, stacked with folding chairs and American Legion banners. I waited in the shadows, pulse thundering. Footsteps soft, hesitant.
Then,
a figure, not Elias, but a kid, maybe 16, hoodie pulled low. Mrs. Hargrove. Who's asking? He lowered the hood. Dark hair. Sharp cheekbones. Not my boy, but close enough to twist the knife. I'm Alex. Elliot's
friend.
He sent me. Said you look like his mom in the old pics. Old pics. The ones Tom scrubbed. Where is he? Safe house. Montreal. Cops are everywhere, your ex's goons. Alex glanced over his shoulder, voice dropping. Elias knows.
Ma'am.
About the switch. Overheard Tom on the phone. Years ago. That's why the portrait. Harlan told him it was a map. Clues to the truth. A map? The painting? More than memory, a cipher? My mind raced. What does he want?
You.
But not like this. Tom's coming clean. Partial. Immunity deal with the feds. Blames Harlan. Says you were in on the fraud to fund the treatments. Elias wants it stopped. No more lies. Immunity. Tom's ace. Flipping again. Selling me out to save his skin. And Elias, my boy. Piecing it together alone? Tears pricked. But I swallowed them. Tell him I'll fix it. Get me away to him. Alex nodded, slipping me a burner phone and a key fob. Cabin in the Adirondacks. Coordinates incoming. But watch Chet, he's Tom's eyes here.
Chet.
The realtor snake. I peeled out. Rain sheeting the windshield. Paranoia riding shotgun. The cabin was off-grid. A A-frame buried in pine. The kind Ted Kaczynski might have envied.
Inside.
A fire crackled. Welcome from Elias? I barricaded the door. Gun on the table. Waiting. Midnight brought the text. Mom, It's me. Don't trust Alex. Then nothing. Battery dead? Or bait? I paced, the portrait's image haunting from my phone gallery. Those eyes, were they warning or welcoming? Dawn broke gray. A knock, tentative. I cracked the door. Beretta raised.
Elias.
Taller than I'd dreamed, face gaunt but alive. Rain dripping from his jacket. Mom, the gun clattered. We collided, sobs racking us both. 13 years in an embrace that smelled of wet wool and home. He pulled back, eyes searching mine. I ran. The Elliots. They're good people, but it's not real. Tom told me last month, after the news. Said you'd come for me. Crazy like always. Crazy. The label Tom pinned like a scarlet letter. I'm here now. We'll go to the cops. The real ones. End this. He shook his head, leading me to the kitchen table where laptops hummed. Too late. Look. Screens flickered. Wire transfers. Emails. Tom's empire. Crumbling under SEC probes, but rerouted through shells in the Caymans. And me, named in leaks as the mastermind, prison time be damned. Worse, footage from the cabin's cam. Time-stamped yesterday. Alex. Meeting Chet. Handing over the burner. She's hooked. Kids with me, leverage. Betrayal. Layered like onion skin. Alex. The friend. Tom's plant. Elias had played me? No, his text warned. You set this up? With Ruiz. The good cop. We needed proof. Elias's voice cracked. A boy's still. I hacked Tom's cloud. The John Doe? Not random, Harlan's nephew. The real forger. Tom killed him to tie loose ends. Blamed you in the deal.
Killed.
The word landed like lead.
Tom.
Murder now. Not just thief. My hands shook as Elias cued the audio, Tom's voice. Cold as steel. Confessing to Ruiz off record. Liz pulled the trigger. Self-defense gone wrong. Elias saw, that's why the switch. Lies upon lies. I'd pulled no trigger but the one on Tom himself. We take it public.
Now.
Elias hesitated, eyes flicking to the window. They'll say I lied for you. Split loyalties, the Elliots raised me. Mom, Dad, whatever Tom's called. It's gray. All of it.
Gray.
The moral swamp where right and wrong drowned. I pulled him close, whispering promises I might not keep. But as thunder rolled, headlights pierced the gloom, black SUVs. Tires crunching gravel. Tom's cleaners. Or feds. The line blurred. We bolted out the back. Into the woods. Branches whipping like accusations. Elias panted beside me. This way, old trail. Slipping. Sliding. We hit a ranger road. Stealing an unlocked Jeep. South to the city. Hearts hammering. Ruiz called mid-escape. Hargrove, stand down. Tom's turning states against you. Too late, I barked. We're coming in. With everything. The safe house in Brooklyn was Rita's cousin's brownstone. Blinds drawn. Pizza boxes stacking like fortifications. Elias crashed on the couch, jet-lagged and shell-shocked, while I huddled with Rita over printouts. It's airtight, she said, tapping the ledger. Murder. Fraud. Child trafficking vibes. But the boy's testimony? He'll crack under cross. Loyalty to Tom runs deep.
Deep.
forged in years of grooming. I watched Elias sleep, chest rising steady, and wondered, was revenge worth orphaning him again? Morning brought the raid. Feds. Not goons, Ruiz at the helm. Badge gleaming. Elizabeth Hargrove. You're under arrest. Accessory to murder. They cuff me gentle, almost apologetic, as Elias watched wide-eyed. What? No. Tom's final flip. Full confession. Me as the villain. The John Doe shooting? Liz did it. Post-prison rage. I covered for her. For the boy. Evidence planted. Alibis bought. Elias's hacks?
Dismissed as teen rebellion.
In the van to holding. Ruiz leaned close. He's lying. We know. But the deal's ironclad unless the kid testifies against him.
Elias.
The fulcrum. As they processed me, I scrawled a note on intake forms. Choose your truth.
Son.
I love you either way. The cell was familiar, cold steel, echoing shouts. But this time, the door swung open hours later. Bail, the guard grunted. Rita, beaming.
The boy sang.
Tom's done.
Sung.
Betrayed his father for me? Or justice? The gray deepened. Tom's empire imploded like a house of cards in a hurricane. Front page fodder. Wall Street Wolf's dark secret. Faked son's death. Framed wife in murder plot. The Cayman's accounts frozen. Miami penthouse raided. His yacht impounded off Key Biscayne. He lawyered up with the best, Skadden ARPs. The white shoe firm that once saved Nixon, but Elias's testimony was the kill shot. Calm. Devastating. The boy who'd pieced the puzzle from shadows now shining light on every lie. We watched from Rita's office. TV muted. Elias picking at a bagel. He cried, my son said flatly. On the stand. Called me his greatest regret. Jury didn't buy it. Regret. Too late for that. Tom got life, no parole. The judge ruling the fraud as predatory, the murder calculated, the betrayal Shakespearean in its cruelty. Harlan's ghost loomed in the sentencing. His ledgers entered as exhibits. The portrait auctioned off for St. Jude's, irony's last laugh. Funding the cures he'd faked. But victory tasted like dust. Elias chose me.
Yes.
But the cost? The Elliots, those proxy parents, sued for custody remnants, claiming alienation. Therapy sessions piled up. The boy, man now. At 20?
No.
Wait, 13 years gone. But time warps in hell. He was 20, legally, but in my heart, forever 8. Oakville faded to visits. Awkward Thanksgivings with maple syrup and 4 smiles. They're family too, he'd say. Eyes distant. Gray loyalties. Pulling like tides. Eldridge Hall sold quick. A tech bro from Austin turned it into an NFT retreat. The library gutted for VR pods. I pocketed the proceeds. Bought a modest ranch in the Hudson Valley. The kind with a yard for dogs and space for ghosts to wander. Elias enrolled at NYU. Poli-sci. Minoring in ethics, his words laced with bitterness. Gotta learn how to spot the snakes early.
Snakes.
Like Tom. Rotting in Sing Sing.
Or me.
The mother who'd ignited the blaze. The media split. Feminists hailed me as avenger. True crime pods debated if I'd manipulated the kid. Stockholm with mom, one host sneered. Or genius gaslighting? Comments flooded. Justice for Liz versus Freetom, his bros claiming setup. MAGA types calling it deep state hit on American dreams. I didn't read them. Instead, I wrote, memoirs shelved, but letters to Tom, unsent. You gave me back our son, in chains. Was it worth it? No reply, just the echo. One spring evening, Elias showed up unannounced, backpack slung, a six-pack dangling. Baseball game tomorrow? Mets versus Yanks. Like old times. Old times. Before the fall, we cracked beers on the porch, fireflies winking like conspirators. You ever regret it? He asked, voice soft. The revenge, regret. The question that divided us all. I'd torn down Tom's world to rebuild mine, but the fractures lingered, Elias's trust issues, my nightmares of that napkin address. Every day, I admitted. But I'd do it again. For you. He nodded. Clinking bottles. Me too. But Dad, Tom, he was an all-monster. Taught me poker. You know. Bluffing life's the game. Bluffing. The ultimate twist. In the trial's sealed files. A letter from Tom to Elias. Dated pre-arrest. If she comes,
Run.
but if you choose her, know I did it for us, for the empire you'd inherit. Love. Twisted as kudzu. Was he villain or victim of his own ambition? The jury split in debates. Post-verdict polls showed 52% sympathizing. Flawed father? Not fiend. We drove to Citi Field at dawn, tailgating with hot dogs and chants. The crack of bats. The roar, America's bomb. Forgiving the unforgivable. Elias cheered a homer, face alight. And for a moment, the portrait lived, boy with glove, unscarred. But as the fireworks burst post-game, my phone buzzed, burner, long dormant. Unknown, he's lying still. The real killer's closer. Watch the boy.
Ash. Ash.
Harlan? Impossible. Or Tom. From inside. One last flip. Paranoia crept. But Elias squeezed my hand. Home. Home. The mansion gone. The secrets buried. But us, intact. If cracked. I deleted the text.
Smiling.
Revenge's end isn't tidy. It's a debate. Eternal. Like Yankees fans cursing the umps. We'd argue it over beers for years. Who was right? Who wrong? But alive? That was the win. In the end, it was by tragic. Tom died in custody. Heart attack, whispered as poison. His final play ambiguous. Elias graduated. Married a girl from Toronto. Elliot ties lingering.
Me?
I faded to the valley. Tending roses. Writing anonymous tips on frauds. The portrait? Bought back at auction. Hung in my den. Elias's eyes watched still. Smiling that crooked smile. Was it justice? Or just another con? You decide. I live with the gray.